All right. Hey, what's up, dudes? Welcome back. We're going to do another video today. It's my day off, so I'm here doing another video. And this video is going to be all about this new product that came out for broadcasters. It's pretty cool. And it's called the GoXLR. So it's right here. This is what we're working with today. And for those of you guys that don't know what this thing is, it's basically like an audio interface slash mixer that can give you really cool effects and stuff like that. There's all these. Let me just quickly go over and tell you guys what I can do right now. Like right now, if I'm playing music over here on the side, no one's ever heard before. Alan Walker Force. It's a brand new track. It hasn't been used on the internet before. It's brand new. But if I had this track, I have the option using these sliders right here that you can see. These sliders right here are actually controlling the volume of the music itself, so I can just literally just reach over and change the volume on the fly as something as simple as just music. I hit the mute button, boom, there goes the music. Nobody's got to hear it anymore, and that's it. Another thing, same thing, I got a little volume slider here for my microphone. I basically have mine set up this exact same way that they have. This is a demo picture that's from the company. So basically, yeah, I have this slider here and I can just slowly bring it down, or I can bring it back up and, you know, just change my volume of my voice on the fly. And let's say I get a call real quick, I got to answer my phone and I just hit that mute. I just hit that mute button and you guys don't, you know, you're not the wiser. Nobody knows. And I just sit here and talk on my phone while I continue streaming or whatever I'm doing. Basically, you can control all these sliders and I'll show you exactly what things you can control using your computer software and whatnot to control what these are controlling, blanketed under more things. So, you know, music could be anything you want, from Spotify to Chrome, to your Internet Explorer if you actually use that, or maybe you have another media player or something like that. You can categorize everything into one slider, and each slider can do multiple things, not just one. So it's kind of huge. I use, you know, the chat I use for just my Discord. My system is doing all my game audio, and everything that plays through my system that is not coming from my browser, my Chrome browser, everything comes through on my system. That way it's like a global audio option for me to just quickly shut down all my music or volume down a little bit just so I can hear people I'm talking to in Discord. And then over here, Chrome and my Spotify are linked to my music tab. This is basically, you know, if I have my Chrome open and I'm playing some songs off on the side, I'm able to quickly turn that down. And, you know, if I wanted to hear whatever, whoever's talking, it's just very simple. It's a good thing. So this is on the left side of my computer. I know I'm not really showing off where it is, but basically it is right here. I wish I could show you, but I'm too lazy to take this camera off my slider. I'm not going to do it. I'm lazy. You understand, right? Now let's look at some of the other things on here. So we'll bypass this little area on the left. This whole GoXLR is categorized into 4 different sections. You have the whole, the mixer itself where you're changing volumes and all these sliders doing all this stuff. You have all your effects and everything that you can change right here at your fingertips. And then down here, you got these little samples, and I'll go over what those means in a second. And then you have your cough button and your bleep filter. So if I'm ever just really wanting to swear and I just get upset and I just say, yeah, God, this thing is so stupid, dude. You know what I mean? And then it's an easy way to go ahead and mute. It's just a funny thing. It's used pretty rarely in my case. Like I swear on my stream, it doesn't bother me, but basically it's there. You can have it if you want it. And maybe you don't give a you know what I mean? So your call. This other section over here on the top right hand side, I know it's kind of like, you know, it seems kind of simple at first. You got gender, pitch, reverb, and echo. And if I just go ahead and enable the effects button right here. Okay, so over here, these are all my effects and whatnot. I'll just quickly go over and kind of give you a broad idea of what these things do before I actually dive into all the complex, not so complex things about this mixer and how to set it up yourself. When you first get into this program, it can be very overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff to look at, but we'll get to that in a moment. So on my top right here, you can see all these little buttons here. And as I go through and change each one of those little buttons, I'm literally manually selecting on my GoXLR. You can see all these settings and stuff down here changing because it's bringing us to the attention of what that button is doing. With that said, if I enable an effect right here, now that my effect is actually enabled, I can go in here and start changing things, much like the pitch of my voice, or make it lower, or however I want it. If I wanted to sound a little robotic-y or something like that. Then you got your gender slider right here. I know it's a little bit small to see, but my gender will change, and you can make this all sound very, very good later on. And I'll kind of go over some of the settings on how to make it sound better. You also got an echo effect. So that's kind of neat if you ever wanted to have your voice, you know, if you're Dr. Disrespect or something like that, and you're saying, you know, come, you know what I mean? Like, you have a lot of options there or something like that. And then on the top left here, you got the reverb. Obviously, you guys probably know what a reverb sounds like. You know, I'm in a cave or something like that. And yes, you can change what type of reverb you have. You can see all down here, and I'll go in that in just in a second. I'll go over that in just a second. So I already have manually pre-made things here on the left, and I kind of just defaulted this one out, this number one. But if I go down to 2 over here, you know, my effect is maybe Megatron-y or whatever you want to call it. My 3 is, I don't know, I don't think I actually set up 3. It doesn't matter, but you can
see how these presets are like super different. You know what I mean? Like this kind of sounds like a girl, but it's like not really that great.
A little thing to know about this too, now that I just disabled that effect. These effects, like all these voice changers and whatnot, they're not really meant to be the best voice changer out there. I believe this is coming from them saying this, where they want to upgrade their voice changing abilities, but right now it's very simplified, and it's just kind of like a little something to kind of play with, and you can get a lot of cool, neat effects with the tools that GoXLR gives you guys. If I keep going down this list, you know, I have all these different effects here to really get some sort of new thing. You know what I mean? I enable robot, and I get a little robot action. If I hit megaphone, I get that little, you know, like I'm a tape recorder. And back in the old days of 1937, where all we had, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so basically you can see kind of how, did they even have tape recorders that were that good of quality? That was like in the 80s, right? I should have said 19, doesn't matter. Basically I just wanted to show you guys that there's different effects and whatnot, and there's also the classic hard tune. So you guys that have heard, you know, T-Pain or anybody that starts to sing, you know what I mean? Like you start to get that very, it's an auto tune. So now you can kind of see how that plays into things. Anyways, moving on from that. All right, so the last thing I wanted to go over is this thing down here, the little sample area. And this sample area is kind of cool, and maybe it's gonna be useful for you, maybe not. There's a lot of uses to this, and one of them being that I can hold down the button, test, test, test. Now I can record my voice and have that literally come back and say, test, 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 and so I can just keep, test, test, recording stuff. So, you know, if I were trying to make music or something like that, just, right? Now I got that part down. Now I want to go, we have a very crude version. It doesn't matter. But you can kind of get an idea of what you can do with this thing, and you can have it select multiple different things to record from. So let's say your buddies are talking to you in Discord or something like that. You can literally, if they're saying something and you find it funny, they say something silly, and you can just record it on the fly, and then you can actually cut it and just get that little sound bite if you really wanted to. Let me just show you guys exactly what this looks like. So if I come over to my sample tab, this is what it would look like. This is the sample tab. And so when I record something, this is me recording. So now I have it recorded here when I let go of the button. And if I play it, record something, this is me recording. So now I can take that, and maybe I want to say, record something, this is me recording. So maybe I just want to say, this is me recording, right? Then this is me recording. Take out the then, this is me recording. And then this is me recording. Maybe cut it off at the end there. This is me recording. And just like that, now, this is me recording. Every time I hit this button that I've just changed, it's gonna take that audio file, and you can mess with it and cut it and however you want. So, you know, if within a long recording you hear somebody say something funny, you can go ahead and just snip that down and then play it back for them. And you just, you know, you would open up your Discord and you just play it through your mic. I'll get to that in a minute too. Okay, so that's pretty much the GoXLR in a nutshell. That's a very simplified overview of the GoXLR itself. Again, it's just an audio interface. You can take a lot of different things here. And if you check this out real quick, the back of the GoXLR has a lot of different inputs. You can get your XLR microphone in. You got your microphone input. You have a line in, which could be another PC. It could be your phone if you wanted to hear that through your GoXLR. You got your headphone out, go into your ears. You got your line out, so maybe you have a stream PC and you can send everything that's happening in the GoXLR out the line out into your stream PC, and that's how it would get captured. You have the USB right here. That goes into your whatever computer you're plugging this into. And let's say you're not plugging into a computer. Maybe you just want to plug it into your console. So you'd plug it into your console, and then it still needs power. So that's where the power comes in right here. and everything's good. Very, very easy. If you just, there's a lot of variety of options here that you can use to get inputs and outputs. The only thing I have to tell you guys is that you can only have one microphone input at a time. So even though there's a line in, you cannot have two mics. And I tested this the other day because I upgraded to the AT2035 gifted to me by my moderator and good buddy. He got me this mic and I upgraded, but I still had this old AT2020 that's a USB mic, but it has that little output on the side. So I took that little 3.5mm output and I tried to plug it into the GoXLR. That's what I was using at first. Then I plugged in this one and I couldn't get this mic to work for some reason. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working until I unplugged the second mic that I had plugged in. As soon as you plug in a second mic, one of your mics is going to get canceled out. So just know that in advance. You can only have one microphone input unless you have some other mixer that is controlling multiple inputs and going out into this again. So if you have an extra mixer, maybe that's a way to go for you. But if you only have one microphone and this, you only get one input. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and just go through the menus here. And anytime you get a new product or something like that that has an application, you get the product, you download the application, and you just start looking at it. And it was very overwhelming. The first time I went over this application, I was very confused. I did this all live on stream and I just started seeing all this stuff. I'm like, oh man, what does this do? What are all these check marks? What is this sample? What are, oh my God, all these effects and everything. And there's lighting too. Okay. So a lot of things started to click once I started to actually just sit there and look at it. I would recommend doing this off stream. And if you want to do it on stream, hopefully you have enough patience to do it on stream. Sometimes I feel like when I'm setting something up, I try to skip past and I just try to get things to work and I'm not really paying attention to everything. So it is fun to watch though, if somebody set up a new piece of tech or gear. Let's start on the far right-hand side in system. This is pretty much the first thing you're going to want to do when you open up the app is you're gonna want to go to system. It's going to automatically open up a dialog to say, hey, choose a microphone. This is where you would choose your microphone. You'd click it, you would click your microphone, and all's good. From there, there's other things here, mostly manuals, tutorials, all that kind of stuff, so you can kind of look through and get a sense of how things work. Also, when you're saving profiles and whatnot, the second step after you choose a microphone is to start creating a new profile, and you just hit this little button right here. Start a new profile. I labeled mine activator. It's the only one I use. So this down here is literally just telling you where it's saving your profile to, where it's saving your samples that we went over earlier right here. And then your preset paths and your icons and all that kind of stuff. So you can literally change all these little icons up here in the top. I know it's kind of hard to see because it's the interface here is a little bit tiny, but after you choose your microphone, next step, let's go ahead and start with the microphone itself. We're going to jump from the far right-hand side all the way to the left-hand side, and we're going to click on microphone. Here, very normal kind of standard thing that you might see: equalizers, compressors, noise gates, and de-essers. Hopefully you guys know what some of these are. And it took me a while to figure this out, but there was all these little arrows right here that expand and give you way more flexibility and way more options as you're going through it. The compressor has a lot of stuff here. The noise gate has a lot of stuff here. And it's very similar. All this stuff is very similar to the stuff that you have in OBS already. So just be aware, and hopefully some of that knowledge from your OBS or filters, whatever you use, can carry over. But honestly, I'm hearing my microphone right now, so I'm able to adjust things on the fly if I chose to change the bass or the treble or maybe individual hertz of my microphone to change the quality of it. And yeah, I did this all on stream, and it sounded like my stream thought that where the settings are now seemed pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on from the mic, where all the filters are for your microphone, and we're gonna move on to mixer. Mixer, on the other hand, is these sliders right here, the faders. These faders will fade in and out your music however you choose to. You can see when I'm adjusting this slider on my GoXLR, it adjusts inside this app, so you can kind of see it live and what's happening on the fly. And if I turn back on this music, this brand new track that nobody's played, you can see that it's physically, I'm turning up the volume and then I bring it back down if I don't want it too high. And then at the same time, I could sit here and mute it, and that little button right there is what I use to mute. So unmute, mute, unmute, mute. Very, very easy. And that's that. So it's really nice, if you want to fade in a track rather than just have it blast at you, all of a sudden you can have a nice little fade to it. And it's kind of nice, you know what I mean? So you have all that at your fingertips as you're gaming. So if I'm quickly gaming over here in whatever game I'm playing, PUBG or whatnot, I can quickly take my hand off my keyboard, quickly dial that up a little bit or dial it down a little bit, and go from there. Very, very simple and very cool. So with each one of these faders, you can change them to individual things. Much like I was talking about earlier, these channels down here, each one of these faders. So I'm going to look at this far left fader here. This fader, channel 1 fader, the source of this fader is my microphone. So I could easily select any one of these other things in this list. I mean, you kind of get an idea of the line in coming from inside your, or on the back side of your GoXLR. Console can be set to something, game can be set to something, music can be set to something like I was talking about earlier. So I'll go over that in a minute as well. So this whole tab is dedicated towards volume control and what these faders are doing. So you choose a channel, channel 1, I want it to be on my microphone. And this option right here is the little mute button. So when I mute, you can see it turns red right there. That is what this does. And with the routing tab, which we'll get to in a moment, you can actually choose where it gets muted. So I can actually have it mute for you guys if I push that button, but I can still hear myself, or I can have it mute just going to my headphones so I don't have to hear myself talk, or mute it to my Discord or to the actual stream if I'm on a single PC setup. Very easy. You're just choosing, I leave it on mute all, so it just wipes it everywhere and I don't have to worry about it. The next area is the mixer. Should be very simple. You're looking at all your individual sources from inside your computer and what those volumes are going to be at. Much like my microphone here, when I turn it down, it ends up going down as well because it's connected to my fader. But if I connected my chat fader to this one, I can make this one move, but you can see it's selected to my third channel here, which is channel 3. So it's voice chat. You just choose which channel and what fader you want to be which things over here. And you can dedicate which one of these you want, as well as you have a whole lighting option. So, you know, if you don't like the way this looks, and it's a little bit different because these bars jump up and down as I'm talking over here, but you don't see it live on the GoXLR app. But you can literally just customize the way this looks. And everybody loves being able to customize the way that their controls work, you know, from when I hit a mute button and it turns red right here. You know, if I want the bottom of the fader to be a certain color, and then as the level, as I'm talking, or as the music gets louder, or as their volume get louder in Discord, it would change a color. And right now I have it going from purple to blue, but I can easily change that to whatever I want. You know, I come down here and I change this to green, and now my fader would go from purple to green as someone was louder or softer in voice chat. One thing to realize, and it took me a while to figure this out, is that when you're going through these little folders here, these little sections, these tabs, you're going to notice this white bar down here. And this white bar took me a while to find out because I didn't realize there's so many more options by sliding this bar around, because I thought it was just a part of the interface. I didn't really see it at first, but it's here, and you can start to see way more options as you scroll through. So now let's move on over to effects. Effects was this little top right area that we went over earlier. You got megaphone, robot, hard tune. You got the gender, pitch, reverb, and echo, and you got the actual turn on effect button. So anytime I actually turn this on, and however I change this reverb or echo or the gender
or the pitch or anything like that, you're gonna see that it changes here, but the effect, if I
turn off that button, the effect goes away. So it's a quick way to select which effect you want, but you don't it's almost like you're pre-selecting it, and then when you want to use it, hit that button,
and now we're good.
Now you guys kind of know what happens there. Let me go ahead and default this out. I kind of leave the top one, number 1 here, just to default. So whenever I want to turn something on, I fade something in sometimes, and maybe I just want a quick, you know, run through on what I'm going to try to change my voice to, rather than just already having a selection already pre-made. The way you can customize these things right here, and I'm going to go ahead and leave the effects on as we do this. You're going to start to see presets down here, and that's going to be the main, what these buttons are selecting. So if I were to click on big reverb, doesn't really matter. Leave it how it is. It's just big reverb. I think it was defaulted out to have a lot of reverb. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure what I don't have it defaulted out here. I have everything kind of zeroed out. One thing to keep in mind is when you look at these, make sure to keep an eye on these arrows. Like I told you earlier, as soon as you open up these arrows, you get a whole world of different options. And just to kind of give you an idea of what happens per one of these, you know, echo, gender, pitch, and all that kind of stuff. If I enable this and I turn on reverb, you can already see the amount is going up right here using the little knob that's on my GoXLR. So I'm spinning the knob and I got a little bit more reverb now. But let's say I don't like how this sounds. So maybe I can click on presets over here or styles. Maybe I like to set it to a library so it's a little less echoey. Or maybe I want to go into a hockey arena so it has that long decay. But then from there, you can always change the way it sounds by changing these little things down here. So maybe you want the reverb to not decay for so long, so you turn down the decay. And you know, if I were to turn this back on and then maybe I turn it down to 100, you can hear just how much more decay there is. But if I have it set super high, it is going to take 20 seconds for this reverb to finish. That effect is going to last 20 seconds. That's what that decay is. So it's literally just the amount of time that it's going to keep going for. And I don't know what it's defaulted to, but it doesn't really matter. You just kind of go through these and start to play with them, find what you think is going to work for you after you select the default. Each one of these options has an extra amount of options to it, or you can keep it simple and just do the amount of everything all at once. And that's it. Moving on to echo, you can see echoes have a lot of different things as well. If I turn this back on and turn up echo, there's a lot of different options here, and maybe these will be good for you. I don't know. I'll let you guys go through effects. I mean, this isn't like an effect tutorial, but yeah, you can see how much like options there is per section here. And if I go into pitch, a little less options, but you can still see what's happening if I turn on the pitch here and I change to wide. So I change the pitch here and I change the amount. And so let's say I have it at 24, but the threshold is 0. So as soon as I start bringing this down, you're going to start to hear some really weird things happen. So just keep in mind that when the amount that you have here is going to change what the threshold is doing. Anyway, so that is the pitch. Moving on here, we got gender as well. Same situation. The further down the wide you get, the more a wider variety of voice kind of change you get on the gender slider. So if I start to change the gender slider, you start to see I get a very high pitch. I get a very, very low pitch. If I only have it on narrow, there's only a very subtle change to the effect, so I don't overdo it at a certain point. So you can kind of see that once I change from narrow to wide, you see how much further it goes down to -50 as opposed to -12 being the lowest here. So just keep that in mind when you're changing the gender. I usually leave it on wide. That way I get the full range and I don't have to change that option. I just leave it on wide and, you know, it's easy. And then moving on down here, we got the megaphone. You guys heard that earlier. So I turn on the effect and it's very tinny and it sounds kind of loud. Maybe I turn down my volume a little bit so you guys can kind of get an idea of like what these are going to do. Maybe I want to sound like I'm on the phone, or maybe I want to sound like an old tape recorder. There's a lot of options here for you guys to mess around with. We got robot. Robot's pretty self-explanatory. Robot voices, we've all heard them in movies and whatever you want to call them. So there's all these different types of options here that you can change. So yeah, go ahead and look at those and see what you like and mess with them. Lastly, we got the hard tune thing, and hard tune itself, you guys heard that it it changes your voice and adds a little something on it. If you're playing music, I guess the hard tune source can be modded a little bit, and I'm not really sure how that works out too well. I don't really fully understand the hard tune and how to make it work for me, but I usually just let it sit to music, because if I ever do use hard tune, it's either for one of my voices or I leave it on music because I was told to leave it on music. So I don't 100% understand hard tune just yet on what these sources actually do, but I'm going to look into that and maybe I can do a follow-up video on it. That takes care of effects. Moving on to sampler. And again, we already went over this. You guys heard when I push and hold the sample button, test, test, test. Now this button is different colored for me. Even though it shows red here, it's red right now, but these ones were all blue because when they're not active and when they don't have preloaded things on them, they're blue. So anyways, now that I hit this, test, test, test. So now I have the test, test, test. I can go ahead and change this, cut it down short. Maybe I only want 2 tests on there. Test, test. So just like that. And then you have other options down here. So modifying, you have multiple banks here, and each bank is basically just like adding more buttons to your arsenal if you ever choose to use it. So sticking on A bank, because I don't really use these. I don't use these buttons too much, but the fact that they're there is quite nice. Looking at my top left button, in the A bank, I can come down here and change what happens when I press the play back from recording. So when I have this, test, test, and let me go ahead and bring that back to test, 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 test. So now I have the 3 tests. I can change it to when I hit that button 2 times in a row, test, 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 test. I can keep having it play over and over and over again. After that, I can also go to play stop. So if I press it twice again, test, test, I can literally cut it off. It plays it, and then I can cut it and stop it. Test, test. So done. Next you got play fade, test, test, test. So you cut it off again, but you're fading it out rather than that hard cut. Test, test, test. So, and then we got a couple more down here. We got stop on release. So I literally have to push and hold. Test, test, test. And then when I let go, then it stops. So test, test. So when I let go, that's when it stops. Fade on the release, same thing. Test, test. So I let go and it fades it out. Lastly, you got loop, and that's just gonna keep that thing playing. Test, 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 test. So you kind of get what goes on there. I usually have it on play stop, so I can play it and then just cut it the moment I want. So I usually set all these to play stop. So one other thing you can do is after you record a test, 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 now it's recorded. And then let's say I want to record another test, test, test. And I was like, so let's go ahead. I hit the clear button and then I select the button that I want to clear. So I clear it out. That gets rid of the waveform and the actual audio itself. And then I do a check, 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 right? So now I have a test, test, test and a check, check, check. Let's say I wanted to add these on the same thing here. So now I basically preloaded both of these by using the little plus symbol here. You would click on that, go through all your recordings, find the two that you would want, put them in here. And now with the play order, if I do this at random and I hit this button a couple times, test, 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 check, 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 test, 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 check, check, check. It's gonna go through these, so it's kind of random. So when every time I hit this button, it is changing it because these are the only two options, and it's doing it at random. I could do a sequential as well, and it'll always go back and forth or go through the playlist of audio tracks. Test, 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 check, 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 test, test, test. So, and let's go ahead and clear that out again. So you can kind of see that you can add multiple samples to the same button if you chose to. Moving on from there, we still have lighting, so you can change the lighting about this thing. We already went over lighting earlier, so you don't really need to see it. So yeah, the samples in a nutshell. There you go. Moving on to routing. Routing was like the hard part for me because when I looked at the routing, I was like, what am I looking at and what is it doing? You need to look at this as how they have it here. Like it just took me a minute to realize what was happening. When you look at the inputs are literally what is being inputted into your computer as well as what is in your computer. So system is literally everything on my computer. It's my system sounds. It's my default audio to my computer. The line in is literally the input, the line in input on my PC. The console is literally the game console, I believe, because if we're not using a console, we don't have to worry about it. I have it here selected just in case I do want to plug one in. Haven't done it yet. Game is whatever you dictate to being a game, and I'll go over how to select that in a moment. Music the exact same way. These are very much universal in terms of what you want to dedicate as what, and you can add multiple things to it. So basically the input is whatever I choose that input to be, whether it be my game or not have it be a game. I don't have it, like right now I don't really have this selected, so I leave it selected just in case, but literally my game is all come through my system. I don't use the game audio input at all. Then you got voice chat in. That's whatever you choose to be your Discord or your voice communication app. Maybe you got TeamSpeak or something like that. You can choose it to be that. And then you have your microphone input as well. Very standard. Microphone input here is literally my GoXLR input. Now looking over here, you see these other things that say outputs. So inputs all right here. Now you're only selecting where these inputs are being outputted. So imagine a bunch of cables sticking into these little things right here, right? And now imagine cables coming out of these output tab, right? And you're gonna choose where this audio is going. So using just my headphones right now, I want to hear everything. When I hear my microphone, if I unselect this, I don't hear myself in my headphones right now. But when I select this, because it's my headphones, now I hear my mic. Same with voice chat, music, game, console, all this stuff comes through and plays through my headphones. Look at the next thing, broadcast stream mix. This is if you are sending it in a single PC. You're sending all these to your OBS or whatever you choose to not show to OBS. Maybe if you just have a single PC and you just want it to be your microphone and voice chat because you do a podcast and that's it, that's all you would have selected. Line out, so that's the line out of your GoXLR. So I have these chosen to be my mic is getting inputted into my PC and going out the line out of my GoXLR. Same with my music, same with my game. So if I turn on that music right now, you hear it, but as soon as I turn off the music, now you guys aren't hearing the music, but I am. I don't know how to demonstrate that. Can you hear the music right there? You should be able to. So you can hear that I can hear the music, but you cannot hear the music unless I recheck this check mark, and now you hear the music. So basically the line out is what you guys are hearing because I have a dedicated stream PC. I look at this as this is my stream PC and what it's hearing. This would be my game PC or my single stream PC setup. And then you also have this voice chat out here, which I'll go over in a second. So line out, I have everything selected except for my line in, because my line in, the cable coming into my GoXLR into the line in, is just my audio out of my stream PC that I want to hear in my headphones. So i.e. my alerts that go off in my OBS, I hear it in my headphones, but it doesn't go out to the stream. Do you understand? Again, input, output. Moving on from there, you have voice chat out as well. So let's say I was in Discord or TeamSpeak and I wanted to talk to somebody. Of course, I'm going to have my mic here. So my input is whatever these are. My output is going to whatever I choose as my voice chat program. Voice chat out is chosen, but I'll show you guys how to do it in a second. Once I choose the voice chat out, I choose what I want to play through there. So if I wanted to use push to talk and I wanted to play my music through it and also the sounds of my games, maybe I could check all those. And so when I hit push to talk or whatever, they get the full volume of whatever I'm injecting into. Essentially, it's almost like what I'm injecting into my microphone so that my friends hear it. So I only have my microphone selected and samples. Microphone for obvious reasons so they can hear me, and samples so I can play back a sample. So if I do the test, 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 and now that's recorded, test, 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 I can literally hold down push to talk and play that sample, test, test, and they will hear that in their ears. So if I was ever hearing them talk to me and I captured one of their moments, I could play it back to them and it would make fun of them a little bit. And it's funny. So if you're ever talking to me in Discord, just know that I'm recording you and I can throw back out anything you say. So if you're a dummy and you say something dumb, I'm gonna play it back for you so you hear it. Now looking down here, separate from this area is the sample. The sample is literally the sampler, sorry. The sampler, this area right here, this is what you're recording from. So technically I can play this music here, bear with me. So I play this music and then I start to record a sample. So this is me recording a sample. I'm gonna play it back. Let me pause the music and play it again. Sample. So this is me recording a sample. So there's no music with that, right? So let's say I had music selected, but not my microphone. So now when I'm playing the music and then I hit record, so test, 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 this is my recording. And now when I play it back by pushing this secondary button, which I just recorded on, it is just the music because that's all I'm having it go to my sample. So if I turn back on the mic and I do it a third time with music and I do a test, 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 do you hear the music? And I pause the music and then I play it back, do a test, 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 do you hear the music? You hear the music with it. So you're recording whatever you have chosen. All your samples are recorded here. You get to choose what you want it to be. That's the simple nutshell of the routing option. We already went over system. Now let me tell you guys how to choose these individual things to make them music, game, or voice chat. So what you want to do is you want to go to your taskbar down on the bottom, and down here you're going to see a little your audio option here. You're going to right click on that and go up to open sound settings. When you open sound settings, you're going to get this this window. It's your system's default sound settings. And when you scroll down here, you're going to see something called app volume and device preferences. When you click on that, you're going to see a lot of outputs and inputs. Your system output and your system input for microphone and whatever your headphones are. These are these. And then you're going to scroll down and you're going to start to see other things. So right now I have wallpaper engine running in the background. I have Spotify on. I have my Chrome browser up. And you can already see what I ended up doing here. As you scroll down the output, I leave the input as is because that's my microphone. You don't have to worry about input. So output over here, let's say I wanted to say like, I want my my Chrome browser to be my music. So I would go over here and I'd select music. And then maybe my wallpaper engine down here, which sometimes has audio, maybe I want that to be my game. So now I have a game slider. And again, if I go back to this, my game right here, and if I go back over to my mixer, I can have it chosen to be this slider could be game. You know what I mean? So I can make this whole thing change the game, whatever I have that chosen to. I can change the volume using my little sliders here. Now that you see that, you already see that I have two options here selected as music. I've made Spotify music and I've made my Chrome browser music. Now, if I go back in here and I open up my Spotify as well as my Chrome browser. So here's my Spotify. I'm gonna go and play some music for you. So I have some music playing here, and then I also got the sounds coming in from YouTube over here. And as soon as I bring down, bear with me, as soon as I bring down this slider, it's bringing both Spotify as well as my Chrome browser down in volume. Or I can just hit the mute button and cut everything. You know what I mean? So these are my two music players right now. And let me go ahead and just pause this and pause this, and then unmute my my volume slider. You're gonna see that everything is controlled by this volume slider, labeled as Chrome, even though I could just have it labeled as music. So when you come back to this, your app volume and device preferences, you're able to choose what is music, what is game, what is this, what is that. And you have to remember that you have to have the app open in order to change it. So every time you open up a new program, let's say you wanted all your audio, all your games to be running out of a single channel. So if I want a specific game slider, a game fader, I would have to manually, every time I open up a game, I would have to come into this apps and preferences and change this to game every single time. And it'll lock in after that. Granted, if it doesn't, there's another program called Ear Trumpet, which will lock that in a little bit better for you guys. It was recommended by them. Ear Trumpet. I would download it. It's basically the same thing, but it's, you know, in a different way. It's weird to look at. Don't worry about it. Anyways, so you gotta choose what you want as what. So you know, if I have my wallpaper, my Steam over here, and I wanted it to be my chat, so that my chat volume slider would also control my Steam. I don't know why you would do that. That's an option. So you just gotta go through here and figure out what you want things to be. So right now I have all my games and everything as just my system output, and I don't change anything. Everything's default, and my default is system output. So anytime I have a video game open or something that's making noise on my computer, it plays through my system default output, which is my system slider here. So my system is literally controlling everything else besides Chrome and Spotify. It is controlled by that slider. That way I don't have to go through and manually select each game to be game every time I open up game and have to go choose that option. Now I just have everything set to one slider and I just change it all at once. So that's it. I mean, there's not much else here other than just looking at lighting that however you want it. You got your icons here. If you really wanted to change your icon, you can add anything you want. Just keep in mind, it's like, there's not a lot of resolution in these little tiny windows here. So, you know, just be aware of that. And you can change what they say down here. You can change the color of them. There's a lot of options. You know, I can change my sampler to be red and it turns up red on my actual GoXLR like that just did, or leave it blue, however you want. So, I mean, colors, you know, and coloring stuff is always fun to kind of deck out your GoXLR to make it yours and make it unique for you. Right now, the only things I really changed was to make everything blue that was inactive and red when active. And that was it. So when I activate a mute button, you're seeing these turn red. I manually made them do that. I just thought it looked nicer. And when I quickly glance over at my GoXLR, I see red. I'm saying that is enabled. Great. Good to know. So that's it. That's the whole GoXLR in a nutshell. Everything else comes down to fine tuning your preferences with, you know, effects or whatever you decide to do. Everything is from there is just all just you tweaking and having fun and setting things to how you want them to set them or how you want them to sound. So I hope this video helps you out. If it does, like it. Like the video. If it doesn't, I don't care. Doesn't matter. I'm here to help at least one. If I can help one person out with these videos, God, I'll be happy, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm here for, dude. I just didn't have this this place where I could find tutorials on things that I wanted, so I'm here making them. I have other ideas in the future, going over like actual camera settings, like white balance and shutter speed, shutter angle, exposure, and all that kind of stuff, and kind of going over the nitty gritty of that. I have other options as well to do, like a stream deck that I got over here. And I don't know. So, but if you guys have options or ideas or anything like that, send them to me, man. Like, if you guys want to see something, send it to me. In the description below, you can see everything I've done, from microphones to my gear, my slider, my camera, my lights. Everything is described. Just look down below, and if you don't see something in one of those videos, please just comment and let me know what you would like to see and how to help you out. Also, if you guys ever want my input on something, post a screenshot down in the comments. I don't know if I have to approve them or not. I don't know how that works. You just post a link to a screenshot somewhere on like maybe Imager or whatever, Imager, Imager. I think it's Imager. You can do that and just put a link and just be like, hey, here's my setup. What do you think of my lighting? What do you think of my camera? What do you think of this or that? Maybe you have a YouTube clip that you want me to look at. Just post down there, man. I'm totally fine with it. You know, obviously don't sell out. We're not a bunch of sellouts here. You know, keep in mind that I have other videos that I made in the past. Anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for being here. Much appreciated. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next one. Okay. I'm leaving. Take it easy.